Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Woven Together podcast. We're out here having a little picnic setting today. We're still talking about intimacy, intimacy in marriage, and also intimacy with God. And you know, when I want to have an intimate moment with my wife, with Dawn here, there are several things that I have to do to create an atmosphere for that to happen. It just doesn't happen. I didn't just show up and all this stuff magically happened. We had to kind of make a plan. But first I have to remove all distractions. Got to find a place kind of like this that's secluded, maybe private. It always needs to be private, actually. Clear my thoughts about work, maybe the kids, even interests or hobbies that I've got going on. If I don't do those things, then I've already limited the potential for this to truly be an impactful moment or for us to have a intimate encounter.
Yeah, and that's the same way with us wives. As we are going about our day, we've got to clear our mind of all the different things that we've got going on, of the things that we've got to do. We've got to clear our schedules with all the different crazy things, especially if you have kids, with work, just different desires that we might have of that we want to have alone time or thing that we want to get done. But we've got to make sure that we are in a place that we can be ready for that intimacy with our husband, with our spouse.
Amen.
And, you know, there are 4 components of intimacy that we want to talk about today. And most of the times we have them in the wrong order. We get them all out of whack. And maybe some of you have never experienced some of these different levels of intimacy in your marriage or in your life. So we're going to talk about 4 different ones, the different levels. The first one is emotional intimacy. The second one is experience. I can't even say that word right.
Experiential, yeah.
Yeah, yes, that word.
Yeah.
Or you could call it physical intimacy.
Sex.
Then there's
getting together.
Yeah, there's spiritual intimacy, and then there's intellectual intimacy.
Yeah. Yeah, intimacy.
Yeah.
Yeah, emotional intimacy. A lot of people connect on this level. That's your mind, will, and emotions. So we connect with somebody emotionally. Many times relationships are started either emotionally or physically. Mm-hmm. We're attracted to someone. We like the way they look. We like the outer shell. And a lot of times when we connect on those levels and those things come first, we never really get to the deeper levels of intimacy. And the reality is, if we get those things out of order, they become inordinate and they become incomplete. And it happens that if we do those things first, say we start with emotional or physical or even intellectual, and we put those things first, those things become like cancers in our lives. Cancers, they take away, they eat at the natural order of things. When we put God where He belongs in our lives at number 1, then everything starts to work in relationship. I learned to draw near to God, but I've also learned that I naturally, when I do that, we just draw closer to each other. Like Dawn and I become more intimate. The more intimate I get with God, the more intimate Dawn and I become in marriage, because there's nothing, all those distractions and all those things that God has to work out. First of all, emotionally, I'm a better person. Intellectually, I'm better. I'm thinking about things that matter. And physically, I have that in right order, so I don't put my own needs above her needs. I'm able to kind of deny my own desires and my own flesh. And as I'm loving God and putting those things first, then the natural order of our physical relationship has gotten better. Emotionally, we're both free and clear kind of distractions, even guilt and shame of things that maybe have happened or maybe we said or did to each other. We can kind of put those things away when we're pursuing God and living on a spiritually clean environment and becoming intimate with the Lord. It really helps us to move forward in all those other aspects. Obviously, spiritual intimacy is God and you, and then God and me. But as I draw near to God and you draw near to God, we've just obviously, there's only one God that we're pursuing, so we're coming closer together in that aspect as well. Intellectually, I think we've been able to stimulate each other in more meaningful conversations. So we make a deeper bond even intellectually not just emotionally and physically when we pursue things spiritually. We get to talk about the Word. We talk about what God's done in our lives. So if you've said, well, I've always wanted intimacy, but it's never meant that much, or it's never gotten very deep. If you have connected with people physically or emotionally, like we said, there are so much deeper levels of that. And when you really dive into this, God really wants to give you the complete package. His desire is never less, it's always more. And so as we put things in right order and we seek God first, he really begins to make things clear. Amen?
Yeah, I mean, you've pretty much touched base on it, but when we're that intimacy that we have with our spouse, we need to pursue God much in the same way that we want that with our spouse.
Right.
We must desire him above all else and be more intentional, and we need to be able to hear him more clearly. But when we're spending more time with him is when we're able to hear him more clearly.
Absolutely.
We're being more intentional in those moments, and
Right.
that's what we need with our spouse too. And so there's this quote I want to read. It's from Joy Dawson, and it states, "I would rather pay the price to hear God's voice personally, regardless of how difficult the circumstances may be, than to have to settle for always hearing from him secondhand."
Amen.
And that is just so true, because I don't want to hear from God through other people. I want to have that relationship where I can hear God directly, and
Yes.
just having that kind of relationship. Because it's the same way in our marriage. I don't want to hear what you're thinking and what you're wanting to do from other people.
Absolutely.
I want to hear it directly from you and have that kind of intimacy. And so that's what we want with God. And God must be the focus of our desire. David cries out for intimacy in Psalms 63, 1-8. He says, "God, you are my God. I eagerly seek you. I thirst for you. My body faints for you in a land that is dry, desolate, and without water. So I gaze on you in the sanctuary to see your strength and your glory. My lips will glorify you because your faithful love is better than life. So I will bless you as long as I live. At your name I will lift up my hands. You satisfy me as with rich food. My mouth will praise you with joyful lips. When I think of you as I lie on my bed, I meditate on you during the night watches, because you are my helper. I will rejoice in the shadow of your wings. I follow close to you. Your right hand holds on to me."
Amen. I don't know what you think about when you hear that, but it's just such intimate desire from David. He's crying out to God, pursuing God. And as you know, in the Word, God says that David was a man after his own heart. What does that mean? It means that David had a desire for God as God has a desire for us. They were not the same person, but they had the same desire to know each other intimately, deeply. God did amazing things through David. He wants to do amazing things through you. Fellas, if you just read that and you think, well, what should the passion level be I have for intimacy with the Lord? That's what it is right there. That you're dry and thirsty for him, his presence, that you want to spend time with him in the secret place. In a place like this, if I want to spend time with God, I need to have that secret place as well. For me, my secret place some days is in the shower. I'll be in the shower and I'll just be praying and worshiping God in there, and he speaks to me. Other days it's out when I'm walking or running or exercising, and but it's always when I'm alone. It's always when no one else is around. I don't have my phone in my face. I don't have connections to everyone else. So I want to encourage you, if you want to develop passion with your wife and with your God, and not necessarily in that order, but God first and then your spouse. I found that my passion for Dawn has grown over the years, especially as my passion for the Lord has grown. And so I think you become a much better husband, a better lover, and a better friend the more closely you can walk with God. Amen? Well, thank you for joining us on this special podcast of Woven Together. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope that it leads you to deeper levels of intimacy with God and with each other. God bless you. Thank you for liking, subscribing, ring that bell, share it with somebody that needs it, and we'll see you next week.